The pile of compost that's behind me is made up of things like banana peels, eggshells, and coffee grounds. By keeping those materials out of landfills, it's not only benefiting the environment, it's also helping farmers produce healthier foods.
I love eggs. Gonna crack them.
It all starts in the kitchen.
That will become calcium in compost on the soil.
Composting, also known as nature's way of recycling, has become a lifestyle Robert Reed has embraced for more than 2 decades. Robert is the spokesman for San Francisco's recycling company, Recology.
It actually makes you feel good because you feel like you're doing something that's helping address this unprecedented challenge of climate change.
While the process of separating scraps such as avocado skin, carrot tops, and orange peels is new for a lot of Californians, Robert explained San Francisco pioneered this method more than 26 years ago.
Our success in this program has helped inspire a statewide law that all municipalities in California have to reduce the amount of compostable material they send to landfills by 75% by 2025.
This means cities like LA will soon be required to keep compostable items out of regular trash bins.
These food scraps are the most important type of garbage that exists. This is where the nutrients are. This is where the carbon is. And we don't want food scraps going to a landfill and creating methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas.
Robert adds methane is far more potent than carbon dioxide. According to the EPA, landfills are the 3rd largest source of human-related methane emissions. So instead of going to landfills, the scraps collected from the green bins, such as the one at Robert's house, end up at composting facilities where they're transformed into compost.
This facility receives 1,200 tons of food scraps and yard trimmings every day.
One of the first steps after the waste arrives is separating it from other trash that can't be composted. The whole process takes about 2 months to complete.
You see how rich it is? Soft. It's a natural sponge.
A natural sponge that helps attract and retain water, which is why compost has benefited farmers like Frank Oligari, especially during times of drought.
When it rains like 6 inches, the water only penetrates like 3 or 4 inches into the compost. So that's telling me it's retaining a lot of water. So if I put that compost in the soil, it's going to be holding on to that water too.
Frank says using compost has also helped him save money by having to purchase less synthetic fertilizer for his olives, grapes, almonds, and walnuts. As for Robert,
all these things came from a farm and they ought to be turned into compost and go back onto a farm.
The compost enthusiast is hopeful the new law will lead to more states doing their part to protect the environment by reducing methane emissions. For Inside the Issues, I'm Daniela Pardo. More and more cities across California are implementing curbside compost collection programs, meaning they're picking up food scraps like these, banana peels, eggshells, and old pieces of toast, and turning it into compost. And this technique is being used by farmers to save water and produce healthier food. His love for nature and the environment led Matthew Engelhart and his wife to open Be Love Farm 15 years ago.
Be Love Farm is a 21-acre experiment in regenerative agriculture in Vacaville, California. We are jacks of all trades and masters of none. We do everything from asparagus to Zinfandel.
Locals can buy the farm products at Be Love Store, which runs on a self-serve honor system.
You can pay by cash or check in a slot or Venmo.
The food grown at Matthew's property is also used at his restaurant in San Francisco, which was the first city in the nation to launch a curbside compost collection program. The same scraps from Matthew's restaurant in the city are processed at a nearby composting facility, which then get delivered back to his farm as compost for his crops.
4 scoops per quadrant.
Matthew and his crew then place the organic material in the root zones, and since compost is a natural sponge that attracts and retains moisture, farmers who use this method are able to reduce their water usage during drought years.
When we apply compost to a farm, the soil really becomes a water reservoir. And farms then don't have to irrigate as much. They don't have to water as much because we have rainwater that's deep in the soil.
Robert Reed, the spokesperson for the waste management company Recology, promotes the benefits of enriching soil.
I absolutely love composting.
The compost advocate says Californians send 40 million tons of trash to landfills each year, which is about 1 ton per person. A state report showed the majority of that waste is compostable.
That's around 13.4 million tons a year of compostable material that is currently going to landfills, but we could compost it instead and make lots of compost and put it on all these beautiful farms in California and help them save water.
As for Matthew, he points out composting has not only helped him save water, he also credits his organic farming practices for protecting his home and business during the LMU Lightning Complex fires 2 years ago.
Everything burned down around us, and our 21 acres was a little oasis of greenery. We had very little damage, and it's because we'd maintained the soil moisture and there was no brown material or very little brown material to burn here.
He adds composting has become about so much more than producing healthy food.
It's about bringing more life to life. All of us can have a compost bin in our house, we can compost and have a little garden even on our balcony. We can compost and have a tomato plant. All of us can bring more life, more fertility to this planet.
By composting our leftover fruits and veggies, Matthew says we can all make a difference in strengthening our soil, saving water, and protecting our planet. For Spectrum News, I'm Daniela Pardo. Caring for California sea lions is always the highlight of Jennifer Weller's week.
It's so rewarding. It's been a life-changing experience for me.
Jennifer has been a volunteer at the Marine Mammal Center in Sausalito for 13 years. The center is the world's largest marine mammal hospital, and it's also where thousands of sea lions with terminal cancer spend their final days.
It's heartbreaking, but it's also very heart-rendering because we know that we're helping the species.
Dr. Jeff Boehm, who's the CEO at the Marine Mammal Center, explains 1 in 4 adult sea lions who come in for care have cancer.
We have uncovered a really alarming problem on the west coast of the United States, and that's cancer in California sea lions. We're linking it to both a virus and persistent chemicals in the ocean.
The man-made chemical Boehm is referring to is called DDT, which back in the day was used to kill mosquitoes that spread malaria. Dr. Francis Golan, who's treated thousands of sea lions at the Marine Mammal Center, says one of the goals throughout her years of research is to figure out why sea lions with high levels of DDT continue dying if it's been decades since the chemical was banned at a federal level.
Suddenly the parts of the puzzle sort of come together and we realize that there is still a continual source of DDT into the ocean environment that can contaminate the food chain and hence continue to expose sea lions to DDTs.
The UC Davis veterinarian points out it wasn't until the last couple years that marine scientists discovered as many as 25,000 barrels loaded with DDT near Catalina Island.
We thought in the 70s that the main source of dumping was an actual pipeline at Palos Verdes that went out to sea and was discharging effluent that was contaminated with DDT.
Now that researchers have found the barrels lying on the bottom of the Southern California coast, they're calling on the government to take action.
What I really hope is that this will make people aware that we put chemicals out there that we have no idea what they do, and it can take 20, 30, 40 years for us to realize that they're causing cancer or other health problems.
Dr. Golan, who also sits on the U.S. Marine Mammal Commission, is hoping federal leaders will make it a priority to remove the barrels from the ocean.
I'm just very excited that our congressional members are interested in this issue.
Congressman Ted Lieu and members of the California Coastal Caucus recently wrote a letter to the EPA and Health and Human Services leaders where they asked them to look into DDT also possibly causing a spike in cancer in humans since both sea lions and people eat the same fish that contain the substance.
This is a red flag, this is an alarm bell for those of us who care about not just sea lions, but the health of the ocean and the health of people. How might this situation be influencing people?
Dr. Bohm adds he was grateful to see Representative Liu take action after a visit to the Marine Mammal Center a few months ago and feels confident this will be the start of a wider push for more funding and research.
He was rescued at South Beach.
As for Jennifer,
The ocean is the lifeline for all of us, and as goes the ocean, as goes us.
she hopes more Californians will pay attention to the impact human actions have on the animals who call the ocean their home. For Inside the Issues, I'm Daniela Pardo.